Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bear Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monica Clavijo, and today, for June and Pride Month, we have a very special guest, Manuela, who's a 25-year-old GenZer that is gay and is here to share her story of coming out in her 20s. So not too long ago, basically, was when you kind of like developed the courage, I guess, right, for lack of words, to kind of like become your authentic self to the world and just be happy, right? Um, so thank you for joining us. I'm sitting outdoors here in my beautiful community, testing out my my hotspot on my phone. So I appreciate everything that you're doing, Manuela. You're a cool sister girl. Thank you.
No, thank you, Monica, so much for having me on your podcast. Definitely, I haven't been able to really speak about this in any other type of platform, so it's such a pleasure to do it with you. So, yeah, I'm ready to talk about, my experience and how everything has been since then. And yeah, thank you.
No, thank you again. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about so you're 25 years old.
Mhm.
You came out as gay when you were 20 years old. So why don't you share a little bit about that journey and realizing and accepting your sexual orientation? You know, were you always in a position from a very early age where you were attracted to the same sex, to women? Or did that just happen kind of later in life? Like a woman came on to you, she was really hot, and you were just kind of like, hey, it's in style. This is what everybody's doing nowadays. Let me go with it because it feels good. It feels right.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, no, everything pretty much started when I was kind of like coming up to sophomore year in college. I never before in the past prior to that had any type of relationship or any type of, kind of like attraction when it comes to, the same gender, like a woman or like a girl. Back in that time, I was always dating men. I was always attracted to men. I am still attracted to men. I am bisexual. So when
Right.
this has started, back when I was a sophomore in college, obviously, as you can tell, it was just kind of, in college is that type of the type of your life where you're kind of experiencing everything,
It's
there's
it's it, it's a time to experiment and really kind of see like what you like, what you don't like. Do I go with it? Is this really who I am? Right. I agree. Your 20s is a time to just kind of like fuck around, right?
right,
And see,
exactly.
and see what direction then you're going to take to get a little more serious in your 30s because now you kind of know what path you're headed in, right?
Right. No, you absolutely said it correct. It was just the time of, let's try things. There's only one life to live, so like let's live it to the fullest per se. So yeah, everything just started as one night I was going out with my friends, and at the moment I did have a boyfriend. We were kind of like on and off. It wasn't really that much of a serious relationship that we had at that point. And it just kind of happened. I saw this girl, which is the person who I am dating right now. Still, we've been
Okay.
5 years together now, 4 years together now. And yeah, pretty much it was just kind of like a weird interaction. I was obviously, I had a couple drinks, she had a couple drinks, and
that always makes it easier.
absolutely. I feel like if it was not for the drinks or going out, there was no way I would be in this scenario right now. So that was kind of like what it gave me a little bit more of the confidence to say what it was, in my
Right.
mind. Things that you're not very comfortable saying when you're sober per se, or it's a situation where you don't want to put yourself into unless you know 100%, which I didn't know 100% in that moment, but I just went ahead and did it. When I said I did it, it's I went ahead and flirt. So it was really funny because I didn't know how to flirt with a girl, right? I felt kind of weird, like, how do I do this? Like, I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable, but I also don't know if this feels right, feels wrong. So It was just more of like, let's just not think about it. And I'm not gonna just be directly into asking you, like, are you gay? It's just more or less vibe. So we started vibing, talking, having a conversation. We connected very well. And it happened, it happened that night. Like I don't remember exactly how, but we ended up kissing.
The the evening was a blur.
Exactly. It was a blur. We ended up kissing, and then the next day we hang out again, and then the next day we hang out again and again, and it was just kind of a thing where it was weird, It was like the first time where you actually feel like that connection, like, oh my God, I'm in love. I don't want to let this people or this person leave my side, or I really want to have something with them, not just like a one night stand per se. So it was very mutual feeling from my way, and same for her. In the moment, as I said, I had a boyfriend. So yes, I per se I cheated, quote
So
unquote.
you broke your boyfriend's heart. Is that what you're saying? Because you fell in love with your that you're with now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like breaking his heart per se, because at that point we were really on and off, and I think it was just more being like clear to him and honest, transparent, because right after the situation happened, I did talk to him. I did wanted to address it immediately, just because, in the moment when everything happened, anxiety came to me when I was like, oh God, this felt really good, but it feels like I'm doing something really bad. I know that if this goes around, I was scared that I'm gonna be, judged, criticized,
Right.
or,
Right.
you know,
Sure. Sure.
looked
That's
at
an
certain.
yeah, that's an understandable feeling 100%. So let me ask you, were you also your current girlfriend's first partner, female
Yes,
partner?
yes,
Oh, okay.
correct.
So it really was like love at first sight, right? Like you guys at this point are not judging anything. You're just going with
Yeah,
the feeling of how you guys feel. So
correct.
okay, so what were kind of like walk us through some of the biggest challenges that you felt in that process of deciding, okay, I'm in love with my current or with this person, this girl that I met. I
Hmm.
see potential of a future with her. And I don't care what anybody thinks at this point. What were some of the challenges that you kind of had to go through, the judgments like you said earlier, walk us through that part of it, because I think that a lot of people and now we're living in kind of like more open times,
Hmm.
especially here in Miami, right? Like this is a very like we're gay and we're proud kind of city. Um, but I think that there's still a lot of overall judgment that takes place, where people are still kind of like very antiquated with the way that they think, or, now with a lot of the transsexuals, that are given the freedom politically where they're able to go into a woman's bathroom and they're actually a biological man. I think that that's really affecting the gay community because you guys are kind of being judged from that perspective. And that's not what this is at all. This is about love, this is about connection. One thing has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the other. So walk us through that and kind of like the judgment that you felt and still feel today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's something very important, specifically throughout this, type of realization when you come into, living your life in a certain way, and then you kind of like switch to something that at the moment, or even right now, as you said, it's not really as common per se, that you go from like dating guys and then now it's like, oh, I'm dating girls, and like now I'm gay, and then people might look at you in a different way. So that's definitely one of the first challenges that I had, of, coming out. It was first a challenge of myself, a challenge of like understanding if this is really like who I want to be, or this is really like the person that I want to be with forever, or is this really just more of like a
A, fa-
moment?
a phase, yeah, like a phase in the right,
Yeah,
yeah, like
ex-
a college thing. we've all
exactly.
we've all been there, girl. We've all been there.
Yeah, so that was like, I feel like that was like one of the first challenges. It was just kind of more of like dealing with myself, really understanding what I wanted, understanding my feelings, and also like understanding like the consequences of like coming out. When I say
Right.
consequences, I don't really say like, oh my God, if I come out, then I'm a bad person. No, it's the consequences of, once I come out, you're out, it's
Yeah,
not
there's
like
no turning back at that point. Like you're always gonna now be like tomorrow you're gonna go and you're gonna have a boyfriend or a husband if you choose to go in that direction. But you're always gonna be like that Manuela that, hey, I remember when you dated that girl for 5 years. Like that's never gonna go away. You're always gonna be that
exactly.
bisexual person now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was like the first challenge, and it really like what helped me go through that challenge. It was just to trying to get myself to understand my feelings, and there's so for me to understand my feelings, I really need to like speak them out. Come have a conversation with somebody that I care, hear what that person also like has to judge or advise me with. So what I'm trying to say is, within that moment of realization, the first like outsource that I went to get, it was to speak with one of my best friends. She did not know. So that was another challenge.
She never
So
even suspected it. Like she wasn't like, well, I thought maybe,
so that's something that's funny, because now that it's been 4 years after that we talked about it, like did you kind of like had an idea of it, were you completely surprised, or what, like were you shocked? And she was like, it's not like I was like, oh, obviously she's gay, but it's not like I was in shock either.
Right.
So she
I'm
said
not.
it
I'm
was
right. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
yeah, she was not surprised. She was just very open-minded per se. And I'm a very open-minded person in a sense that, I've been living through different countries, different cultures and stuff like that. So like I am very open to absolutely everything. And therefore I feel like my friends or my family, people that are around me, kind of expect that for me. Like not, to expect anything pretty much.
Yeah, and
But
be there and support you. Absolutely. That's your tribe. That's how it should be if they're in your own
correct.
circle. Yeah.
Correct. So yeah, so the first challenge went from myself figuring it out to then now, okay, let me see how this goes telling one of my best friends. And that was really hard, in a sense of she was really nice and she was very understandable. She was, if so, the person who helped me into getting that second step of, okay, let's make it real. Like let's deal with that, like not put it aside and hide it from the people. But what it was hard, it was for me to tell her. So it was just kind of, I came to her, room, and I was just like, hey, I gotta tell you something. And then she was like, what is it? And I was just like I wanted to tell her, like, hey, I kissed a girl, or like, hey, I think I like this girl, I've been talking to this girl, but it would not come out of me. Like it was so hard, it would not come out of me. So I was just kind of going around and rounds, and it was just kind of like a 30-minute conversation where I was talking nonsense, but I was not really saying anything. So she was like, what's up? Like, tell me the truth. Like, did something happen with drugs? I'm like, no. She's like, did something happen with, are you pregnant? I'm like, no, no, no. She's like, okay, did you fail the year? I'm like, no. And she's like, okay, so like, what is it? And I'm like, okay, well, it's really hard to say it, but I hooked up with this girl. Boom. I like threw it like that. And as in that moment when I threw it like that to her, Monica, it was crazy how I felt, in a sense that it felt like I took so many rocks off my shoulder.
Sure,
Um,
sure. Yeah, because you were
yeah.
holding all that in. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think that a lot of that fear and how difficult it was, even to like a best friend. I mean, I
Hmm.
haven't even gotten into your parents and your family.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's like that pre-programming that we have, especially being Hispanic,
Yeah.
right? Catholics, that upbringing. This is something that's always been very frowned upon, right? With us growing up, at least I know for my generation, it was my father was a political prisoner from Cuba for 9 years, and you could not say the word homosexual in front of him. He was like not
Hmm.
having any of that.
Yeah.
So I think it's that pre-programming that we also have, and it's that fear of coming out and how are people going to react, even if they are your friend, even if they do love you, right? So
Absolutely.
I commend you on that, you know, and just I think when you're younger, you also have a little bit more courage. I think you don't really
Yeah.
understand the consequences, of
Mhm.
what could happen long term. But if you're in your true authentic self, it's always a beautiful thing. So then let's jump into that part. So then tell me, how was it then? You got that out of your system. You told your buddy, you told your best friend. It took you 30 minutes, 27,000 pounds of rocks off of your back. How do you tell your parents? How do you come out to them?
Oh God.
Your Colombian parents. How do you do this part?
Yeah, well, that one did not take 30 minutes. That one did take, I think, like 2 weeks to kind of like come out of that phase with them. So pretty much to explain the scenario is, in this moment, I'm a sophomore in college, right? So when I went to college, it's 3 hours away from my actual home in Chicago, where my parents are. In this moment, in that small town, there's really nothing to do. So like after college is done, like during summer, I usually would just go back home and like travel with my parents to back to Colombia, or we would travel to Europe or do things together. But I would never have like kind of the need to tell my parents I want to stay here. Like that would be really weird for me to tell them. If so, it was me saying I can't wait for summer so I can get out of here and go and travel. So I'd say this because when this thing happened with the girl that I'm with at the moment, this was kind of leading towards summer. So classes were closing at this point, and I just stayed like extra, like an extra weekend just to hang out with everybody before everybody goes out. Then in this weekend, that's when that happened. And this girl that I'm with, she's from that town. So she was gonna be in that town for a long time, like for the rest of the summer, like 2 months. But I knew that if I went home, there's no way I can come back and see her because I'm gonna go to Europe, I'm gonna go to Colombia, and she is from that town. However, she did not live in that town. She was there during summer to visit her family.
Got it.
So that was the only time that I could be with her or pursue this kind of like dream that we both are living, like this euphoric momentum, right? So, um, coming up with my parents, how it was is I started thinking of ways to how do I lie to my mom and tell her that I need to be here in school like 2 more weeks. Like, do I say it's something with my sorority? Or do I say that, oh my God, there's like a project that we need to do, or
I
like
gotta, I
classes.
gotta, I gotta study. I gotta, I'm backed up with exams and I gotta get an A, whatever.
Exactly, something to the point that she could be like, okay,
Yeah,
that's fine, you
sure.
can stay,
I
right?
understand. Right.
So obviously my lies did not work. I'm very, very bad at lying. So the way that I would lie to my mommy would be first with, oh, we have recruitment with the sorority, so we need to be here for a month. She was like, a month? Like, okay, whatever. I guess you can stay there for 2 weeks. So I stayed there for 2 weeks. Then, when the deadline is coming up for me to go back to Chicago, now, what is another lie that I could say? Because obviously at this point, I don't want to leave the girl. The more we spend together, the more that momentum comes, the
Yeah,
more
yeah.
strong it
And
feels.
especially in that beginning, right? It's like
Mhm.
that moment where you just want to be with each other constantly and you're getting to know each other, and it's just that, like you said, that euphoric beginning in every
Yeah.
relationship that
Like
you don't want to miss out on that, right?
exactly. So yeah, so pretty much went from a lie to another lie to another lie to the point that I ran out of lies. And my mom, obviously, she knows me, so she knew that I was hiding something.
And
She was
you have a very close relationship with your mother.
Oh, absolutely. I do have a very close relationship with my mother. That's why she knows me very well. And she knew that there was something off, that there's something that I'm not telling her and that I am lying, but
Yeah.
she didn't know for what reason. This is like very random of me, out of the blue per se. So one day she called me and she was very frustrated. She was, telling me, Manuela, I don't understand what's happening. it's time for you to come home, but now you're telling me, it went from the sorority to now there's something else happening with the school. Let's be clear, you're lying to me. What is going on? If you don't tell me right now, I'm gonna grab my car, drive all the way to university, and get your ass and bring you back home. So obviously I did not want her to come, drive her car and see what's happening. So in the moment I said, shit, this is the moment where I need to tell her. Because I know my mom, as you just said, a Spanish mom, a Latina, if she's mad and she tells you she's gonna come, she's gonna drive and grab you through the hair and drag you back home.
Oh
She's gonna do
yeah.
that. Like
We
she
don't
really meant it.
Hispanic mamas don't play.
Exactly. So yeah, she started asking questions. She's like, I know that you're lying. I call you lying. You gotta tell me right now what's happening. Either you jump in the bus and come home, or I'm gonna come and get you. So tell me right now what's happening. I wanted to tell her, but it would not come out again. The situation with my best friend, it would not come out of me. Like it was hard for me to say it. So my mom started going down the list of lies. So she started being, are you in trouble? I'm like, no. She's like, are you pregnant? I'm like,
You
no.
sounded like your best friend now, right? Like she's doing
Yeah,
the
I'm
same
like,
thing.
yeah, because they were thinking like, you're lying so much and that you're acting so weird that it's like, I mean, something like this type of proportion has to occur. You know what I mean? There's something really bad that might be happening. Or no, I'm not saying that being pregnant is bad, but something like out of the blue that is happening that, there's a reason for me to lie. There's
No,
a
there's
reason
no
for me
that
to hide it.
you're in trouble, right? Like what's going on? Talk
Right.
to me. I'm your mother. I'm gonna help you.
Correct. Yeah. So whatever, it went down to like, what is it this? No. Is it that? No. Is it that? No. Like until the point that she mentioned everything. She even said at one point, "Are you gay?" I said no.
Oh,
Immediately when
you
she said,
said no?
yeah, I said no. Like we were in the phone and she's like, finally she says, "Are you gay?" And I go, no, 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 absolutely not. Then I'm like, fuck, what? Now what?
That was your moment.
That was my moment, but I was not ready. I was not ready. So whatever, it went to back and forth until, finally I said, Mom, I'm very sorry. I've lied to you. I'm not in trouble. I'm not pregnant. I'm not in jail. I'm not doing anything bad. The problem is I am in love with somebody right now. I still did not say a girl. I said I'm in love with somebody right now, and that's why I don't want to go back home because if I don't stay here throughout the summer, I most likely won't see that person again because that person doesn't live here. Her family lives. I said no, no, it didn't say her family. I said
Oh, I was
her
gonna say you
family lives here.
said.
No, no, no. And then she goes, okay. And then like, why didn't you tell me this before? Like, why is it such a big deal? And then I said, because it's a girl. And then she literally, like, we're on the phone call, and she literally, like, was silent. Like,
You
I
didn't
did
say
not receive anything.
at
She
that
was
point, you don't know what to say. What the heck do you say to that? Jeez. And then
exactly
over the phone, that's even worse. Maybe in person, face to face, you use pause for a second, process it, and then
right.
yeah,
Yeah. So over the phone, it was back and forth. And I said, it's a girl. And she, like, went silent. And
yeah.
I'm like, hello? And she was just like, okay, I'm gonna call you in a little bit, okay? And I'm like, okay. And then
Let
she
me
hang up.
process this.
Yes. So she hang up. And I'm like, oh shit. Now what am I going to be expecting? Is she gonna arrive here in like 3 hours and like grab me up the hair and like put me back to in an airplane back to Colombia? Or like what is going on? She called me back like 5, 10 minutes after. And the first thing she said was, I'm really sorry. And I'm like, for what? And she was like, I'm really sorry for, having to hang out in that moment. I know it's very important for you to like come out to me, and it's something that is not easy. But the reason why I did that is because, it's a shocker. So I needed to process it the same way that you had your time to process it and tell
Of
me.
course, 100%. I can totally
So
understand that.
yeah, so I
No,
was
and it's also better than reacting in a negative way just because you're shocked. And at that point, it's
correct.
like, okay, let me gather my emotions. Let
Exactly.
me be there for my child that I love more than anything in the world. I mean, I think she handled that marvelously, you know. I
Absolutely.
commend her.
She
And
did.
I've seen her in pictures. She's a beautiful woman. Is she kind of like hip too? I mean, I don't know her personally. Is she a hip mom or is she or
She's
I
a
don't
cool
know.
mom. She's a very cool mom. She's
Do
a
kids
very open-minded
yeah, oh, okay.
mom.
So you're the one kid that thinks their mom is cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I love her. She pretty much the person that I am here today is because of her, because of, who she is. So she's a very open-minded person. She's very, cool with everything. I was not afraid of her coming out negatively because she thinks something bad about this. It was just more towards because it's a shocker for me, it's a shocker for her. It's my mom. If it was scary for me to tell my best friend, now
Of
imagine my mom,
course. Of
right?
course, of
And then
course.
on top of that, it was just the religious part, like Hispanic, and then in our countries, like this is my perspective, obviously, like the older the people are, the more close-minded they are towards this type of situations of
Mhm.
homosexuality or stuff like that. So I don't know if it has to do within the church or
I just think like I was well, like we said earlier, I think that a lot of it just has to do with, our upbringing and it was
yeah,
just, that was the norm.
yeah,
People knew about homosexual couples all the time in
yeah,
their era, in their time. But like people wouldn't talk about it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, see, this is my aunt and my other aunt, and they live
yes,
together. It's like,
uh-huh,
but nobody would
very low
say
key.
because they're a couple, yet they were together for 35 years and loved each other and were there for each other forever. And then you go into, the whole political aspect of it where now there's finally that acceptance where you can get married and actually have your partner that actually loves you and wants the best for you to be
Yeah,
able to have some say. God forbid something is happening to you and you're in a coma and they're the ones that are making some medical decisions for you, or you pass away and you're able to leave, everything that you've worked so hard for to your partner, right? And I think it's
absolutely.
only right. I think it's only for why does that have to be only between a man and a woman? It should be between two partners that love each other, whoever it is that you choose. As long as you're not hurting anybody with what you're doing and you're not messing around with little kids, you know, you're not like a sick pedophile or anything. It's like,
No, never.
let people love. Let people be happy. Um,
Absolutely. That's something I completely agree with everything you said, but also, you know what? I think it's also our generation. I feel like our generation has started to normalize
of
this a lot.
course.
And the digital world as well is something that has allowed, a lot of people to come out in their own
and
way
and
and
and share their
yeah,
stories, and
exactly.
you're able to humanize it, right? It's not like you're a freak, oh my god, like it was before. Oh my god, there's something
Yeah.
wrong with you, we have to take him
Yes.
to electroshock treatment because he's gay. No,
Oh
there's
my
nothing.
God, that is crazy. I've been seeing some documentaries or videos about that. Even on like American Horror Story, there's the show and there was an
Yeah.
episode like they thought it was like a mental illness or something like that.
Of course,
And
because they think that there's something chemically wrong with your brain, with the composition in your brain, because it's
mhm,
not normal for you. I mean, this has always been my take on this. I do think that a lot of people in today's society, because of social media, kind of see this as a fad now. It's like, hey, yeah, I'm bisexual because,
I
it's
feel like everybody now wants
right,
to
because
be.
I'm cool like that, and oh yeah, yeah, I got a girlfriend and a boyfriend, right? Like I think that a lot of it is kind of like so people can because it's cool and it's what everybody's doing and unfortunately we're human and a lot of people, especially in this town, are followers, we kind of like follow the herd. Let me
Yeah,
do the same thing.
very normalized per se. Very
Right.
normalized.
But then you see, for example, and this is my personal opinion on this, right? Like I do believe that there's some people that are born in the wrong body because you meet sometimes such young children, right? Like these little boys that are like 3 years old and they're walking, they're talking, their mannerisms are like a little girl. you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're wanting to dress like a little girl. And I could see maybe if you're kind of born in that environment where maybe you're with gay parents and you kind of see that, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
my two moms do the same thing, so this is what's normal. Okay, that's not what I'm
Right.
talking about. I'm talking about the little boy or the little girl that identifies as the opposite sex at a very young age, and they're born in a heterosexual normal family, right? Like,
Mhm.
there has to be some kind of like spiritual confusion there, right? Where somehow you were biologically, I don't know, born into the wrong body, and you just
Mhm.
feel completely like the opposite sex, which is why so many homosexuals and, people of the community suffer from depression, right? And there's so many
Right.
suicides that take place. So diving into that, is that something that you experienced at any point when you did
Yeah,
finally come out? Because you were a little older. I mean, 20 years old. You're not a
yeah,
10-year-old feeling feelings where you're just like, why am I attracted to, Maria and not to Tom, right? Like,
right.
at 20 years old, you're a grown ass woman already. So, but did you ever have any thoughts where you were experiencing, kind of like you didn't fit in, and
Hmm.
you were just, I mean, life in general can definitely beat you up and make you feel that, but just in
Yeah.
this for this particular situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm very glad that you brought this up because it's something that a lot of people ask, like, when you were younger, did you feel a certain way or all that? And I don't think it's like a feeling that I had towards somebody, like a girl, in terms of, oh, I like the girl, or like, oh, like, what is that? Like, no, it was never that way. I think it was just more of a feeling that I have within myself, kind of like what you said earlier, like I feel like in some scenarios I wasn't fitting in, in for example, to be clear, have a mom and I have a dad, like, they're not homosexual, obviously. I grew up into a family where it was, there was not really per se like homosexuals around it, so it's not like I saw something and I started acting that way. But for example, in my scenario, I was a single child, right? And the only child per se. And I had a very good relationship with my dad. I still do. And when I was with my dad, it was kind of like he was treating me like a little boy. But in a sense of like, not because he didn't like me as a girl, it was just because he's a man, so like he likes playing soccer, he likes watching fights, he likes
But you're
playing.
saying, so you're saying like when you were a child growing up, like your father kind of treated you more like a little boy?
So yeah, so it's like when I was a child, when I would play with my dad, we both kind of shared the same type of like interest, in a sense of I was more interested into playing soccer with my dad than playing like Barbies with my mom. Or like when I had like a birthday, I remember this was so funny, and like me and my mom laughs about it now. Every time I have a birthday, they will come with like every single Barbie that has come out that month. And there was a time where I even asked my parents to tell the people, please don't give me more Barbies. Like I don't like Barbies. I don't like Barbies. I don't like to play with them. Like, yeah, sure, I had my time where I had like the castle and everything that a Barbie
Ah,
could
I
have.
I remember all that.
But then it came to a point where, I started being a little bit older, towards, maybe like 6, 7 years old. And I started kind of developing more of a character to myself and starting to differentiate what I like and what I don't like. So in that sense, it was, I don't like playing with Barbies. I like playing soccer. I don't like putting makeup and things like that. I like watching fights with my dad. I like watching UFC. So I think I just grew up without that type of what I like and what I don't like. And my parents were very open-minded. They never said, no, because you're a girl, you cannot play with a ball. Or no, because you're a girl,
Yeah.
you cannot fight. So they allowed it to do whatever you're happy doing, do it. And that's how I grew up. And therefore, that's why, answering your question, that's what I feel like that was my realization when I was younger. It was more of like a realization with myself that I feel like sometimes I would not fit in within, all the girls are playing with the Barbies, but why do I want to go play with the guys soccer, or all the girls are talking about like the makeup and I want to talk about the fight, so that's the sense of how I felt a little bit off. But it was never like, oh, I feel something for a girl back in that
Right.
age.
I, you know, it, I've come across, including myself,
Hmm.
where, I very much identified like as a tomboy growing up, and even now as as an adult at 47 years old, I've always, like you, when I was younger, I have a younger brother, and they would give him, I had the Barbie mania going on too, right? Like the mansion and the Corvette and the pool. And it was fun. I liked it. I would dye all their hairs. But my brother had the Hot Wheels, and he had the highways that you would spin the Hot Wheels in. And I loved it. That's what I wanted to play with. And I would tell my parents, get me more Hot Wheels, get him more Hot Wheels so that I can play with it. And, my parents, like I told you, my father was completely against anything that had to do with homosexuality, but at the same time, I don't think that they saw that as, it was just like, oh, it's toys and they're playing with toys. Like their head wasn't even thinking that way, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, good to know. Has this impacted um your relationships, as far as like your platonic relationships with some of your friends because you're gay, where they treat you a little bit different, or everything is just kind of like the same?
To be honest, I've been very, very happy about the people that I have around me even before I came out, because it truly showed me that when I came out to them, or they found out for any reason, they were still treating me the same. There's still respect. They were still, we still hang out the same. They never really, specifically like the girls, like they never really felt like, oh my God, like Manu is gonna look at us in a certain way, or oh my God, I feel uncomfortable with Manu comes, or like, no, not at all. It was always respect. It was always the same love, the same activities we will do. Nothing really changed towards the group of people that I had near me. So I was very, very thankful. I'm still very thankful for that reaction, because I do know and I acknowledge that not a lot of people have the same luck for that. And unfortunately, they do have to go through a little bit more of discrimination. On my side, though, it was not really discrimination. It was more of like,
Support.
we got you. We got you, like we saw that coming. Kind of like, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. Regardless, I kind of like,
Right. And even
I,
and
I
even if
like
we're shocked, it's okay. Like we love you no
yeah,
matter
and
what.
even if we're shocked, like I still think you're cool. I still like you. I'm still respect. Nothing has changed. It's not like you fell in love for me. You know what I mean? So on that part, and friends wise, it was very good. On family side, it was very good too. With my mom, after the conversation and all of that, we did. She was amazing. She did end up letting me stay for the rest of the summer there with her after she found
Yay,
out.
mom.
So it
Um,
was good.
did you feel the need, other than your immediate circle with your amazing mother and your buddies that reacted and were so supportive of you? Did you go to any other exterior resources to kind of like read a little bit more and understand, some of the feelings and the emotions that you were dealing with, or you didn't feel the need for that at all?
I did not feel that need. I'm a person that I'm very like, once I feel something, I feel things very strongly. So once I knew, I knew. There was no like, oh my God,
Yeah.
maybe I'm feeling this way because of that or because of she said that. Like, no, I knew. I'm feeling love. This is something like insane. Like it kind of sounds weird to say, but it's kind of like love at first sight. I never really like believed on that. Like I was just kind of like, oh, come on, like how can that be possible? You have to like really hang with somebody, get to know them to fully feel that love.
Yeah.
But with her, it was not like that. So I was kind of like a victim of my own criticism per se. It was love at first sight, and you know within like couple words that we exchanged, I was already like
You were
thinking I
hooked. You were
was
hooked. You were
wrong.
in love.
Yeah.
In love. Well, I've seen her.
Exactly.
She really is a very, very beautiful woman. So I can definitely see that. Working in the broadcast television and radio industry, and doing this for so many years, a
Mhm.
lot of homosexuals work in this industry, and I have very dear close friends of mine where they were married to men, and now they've been with the same same sex partner for years, adopted children from Russia, and they're super super happy together. And one of the main things that they've explained to me, and maybe you're a little young to kind of understand this part of this emotion, is that they've had a lot of traumatic experiences being in relationships with men, because men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? There can't be more truth to that saying. And it's been toxic relationships with a man, or maybe it was domestic abuse, or infidelity, whatever the case may be. And then
Mhm.
you go back to that uh natural biological emotional kind of like female support that we
Yeah.
automatically give each other, and then you have this where you find it in a best friend who just
Mhm.
happens to be a female, and at that point this love develops between the two of you, and that's the way that they've kind of explained it to me. It's just like it feels so perfect at that point. Yeah, you say
Yeah.
to yourself, this is wrong, because I have a dear friend who's 50 years old, kind of
Yeah.
like your situation, where it was like when she came out, and she's been with her partner now for like 3 or 4 years. She's younger than her and everything. And it was like, what? I didn't I would have never thought that about her, but and she's really
Yeah.
happy with her, right? And I think that a lot of it has to do where it's just like being in toxic relationships, and you just get to a stage in your life where you're just like, I just want to be happy. I just want to
Yeah.
be with a person that fulfills me, treats me right, is good to my family. We have shit in common, and we're
Mhm.
just happy together. And that's what I find with the way that they've explained it to me.
Yeah.
Where it's married for 10 years to a man, and now I've been with my female lesbian partner for, and the same goes for the men, right? Like
I want to say something. It's so interesting that you bring that up because, particular for me, it wasn't like, I mean, I don't know if this is true, like if this is the reason why, but I've seen, videos and other people that are homosexual talked about it. And specifically with females, they said it's funny, like a lot of girls that have daddy issues end up getting,
that
with a
they turn
girl.
gay.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I had a very good relationship with my dad, and we were like, I was a daddy girl pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously I loved my mom and I always did. But when it was time with my dad, it was just daddy girl. And everything was great until, eventually when I was a teenager, we kind of had like bumps in the road, and then we stopped talking, and it was a little toxic, and it did affect me really bad, like emotionally and mentally a little bit, like anxiety, a little depression. He was not there and stuff like that. Whatever point of it, it has affected me at this point. My relationship with my dad is broken. Like at that point, my relationship with my dad was broken, and I was just seeing him, it turned from love to hate. And I'm just bringing this into the sense of, it's interesting, because it's not like I had a toxic relationship with a man, or I got cheated by a man and then I was like, fuck men, now I'm gonna go girls. No, but it was with my dad. It's kind of like I felt betrayed. I just felt like I was all love and now it's all hate. It felt like you all told me all this and now you're gone. So I feel like that maybe would have been a little bit of a pushover into thinking about men differently.
You know,
Obviously I have, you
it's
know,
true. The relationship that a daughter has with her father
yeah.
is so important, because the father really is setting kind of like that pace uh,
Hmm.
of what you should, or, this is love. This is how a man should treat you. And you better, like, take this to the 10th power when you do meet that man. Don't ever take anything less than the way that I treat you. And, women that come from, abusive relationships with their father, or negligent relationships with their father, Yeah, they fall into that. It's amazing how, and again, it's because of the male and the female. Like it's the
Yeah.
father with the daughter, it's the mother with the son. Very
Hmm.
important. If those relationships are broken, it definitely has an effect where, listen, a lot of people have to take therapy, later in life because of these situations, because right, you're holding on to all this trauma and all this pain
Hmm.
for things that were out of your control, and a lot of all of that was probably reflections of whatever that parent was going through for their own personal traumas, and unfortunately you were the one that they were taking it out on, but and none of it had anything to do with you.
Yeah,
That's the part that we kind of like have to start understanding as human beings. um
absolutely.
so have you experienced, now that you are a working young adult, have you experienced any type of discrimination in the workforce, uh by saying that you're gay, or do you think that this is
Yeah.
just like these are the times now and everybody just gets it and everybody's cool with it? Nobody's going to say it, and if they think it, they're not going to admit it.
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question again. And well, as I said at the beginning, there's some people that do get, situations where they get criticized or discriminated and stuff like that. But for me, surprisingly has not been. But I think it's not because of what people think. I think it's just the mentality that I have towards myself into learning that, I mean, agree to disagree. And like, so for example, let me explain it. For example, for me, it's like I have never felt discrimination, or I have never felt like somebody like looked at me in a certain way or acted to me in a certain way just because I'm gay. Because I have never put that into my mind. Like, oh, they did that because I'm gay.
I
Or
love
like,
that.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Or like, oh, you didn't give me this because I'm gay. No. I think it more is like, oh, it's because we just don't like each other. You know what I mean? Or like we just didn't really click in. But I never put that as the reason of why you don't like me, because it might be, but I don't think it in that way.
And
I
you
don't prioritize it.
because and you're nailing, you're like nailing, what is it, the hammer, you're nailing the nail right now, like, with everything you got, because everything in our reality really is our perspective of the way that we see things and we see others, right? So you create your own reality. You really do. What other people think of you and how other people react to you, unless you're being a shit, don't get me wrong, then that's a whole nother story. But if you're doing good and you're a good person and you're doing everything, right,
Yeah,
per se, and somebody has a problem with who you are, that's their problem. That's not your problem. That's not my problem. It's not my problem what you think of me, how you feel about me. I'm going to continue to be me, and I'm going to continue to be a good person. And,
correct.
those are your own personal demons that you have to deal with and you have to figure out, right? Because it's our perspective, is how we view reality, and that doesn't just apply to our sexual orientation. It applies to everything, because people are so judgmental, which is
Hmm.
one of the main reasons why I really wanted to kind of like touch base. And again, I appreciate you doing this with me. I know that we've been back and forth. Today was the perfect day that we're off, for the Juneteenth holiday, and we were able to kind of like, do this a little more relaxed,
Hmm.
during the daytime. So really, I appreciate it, because I do think that a lot of people struggle with this subject. I do think that there's still a lot of stereotype and there's still a lot of judgment. I've
Right.
seen it, with my own family, um, within my own family. It's there. It's very present within my own family. And
Right.
me, I've judged with my
Mm.
own blood,
Yeah.
and I'm ashamed of that. I really am. I'm ashamed of being so close-minded, and kind of having that tunnel vision and allowing my programming that isn't really what I believe to give me this perspective on this reality that I'm supposed to believe in. No, listen, if you're happy and you're not hurting anybody, let's go with it. Be happy. Okay, so sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty, so she had to log back in with her phone. But yeah, so just dealing with a family dealing with this situation within my own family, it was something that I personally took it very difficult. You know, it was something that I wasn't very acceptant of it. Um, but you know, with time, I've been able to kind of see things a little bit more clearly. I allowed my emotions to take over. That's what I'm saying. I think your mother handled it beautifully, how she was like kind of like, let me gather my thoughts and I'll come back, because that really is the reaction that you should be showing everybody with that. So with that being said, what are some of the things that you would like to see within your um you know 25 years old, you're still a young woman, you have, you know, the rest of your life ahead of you, you don't know, hopefully you'll marry your partner, you'll live the rest of your life with her. So what are some of the changes that you would like to see within your lifetime for the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, so huh. Wow, that's a very important question. But there's a lot of things that, we all would like to see in different matters. But specifically towards my generation and like, the LGBT community, there's a lot of things that we cannot control. So like what I would like to see is just the people that are going through this type of stuff, of this type of realization, or they're just like unsure of what they like or what they don't like, and they're like, scared or afraid of being judged, or you know pushed away from a certain type of group because of what you like or who you are. I would love to see people just starting to have a little bit more of self love and self respect, in a sense of understanding where where I mean, who is a good people to be around with, who is somebody that is actually going to respect me for who I am, regardless if I am homosexual, heterosexual, if I'm blue, red, yellow, whatever color
Correct.
I am. So it's just, I feel like, just that's simple. The thing that I would like to see is just seeing my community, and not only my community, like everybody in general, just pushing towards that mentality of, respect yourself, have some boundaries, and also just love yourself. And by loving yourself, it's like knowing who you are around with, and knowing who is the right person to share some type of information with, and who is a right friend and who is not.
Right.
There's friends that, unfortunately, because of their beliefs, or because of their parents or whatever, things like that, they might
Hmm.
not want to be your friends anymore because of that, and that is a
Right.
shame. But we need to respect that too, right? So we cannot push it either. So it's a matter of respect and love, and just keep going. I mean, just that's the only way that you can succeed in a world that you cannot control the majority of things. Is just by making sure that you're your own happiness, and you get the respect that you deserve.
I love that. I love that. Very well said. Very well said. I love the way that you positioned that and explained it. So to end the podcast, what is some, advice that you can offer to, let's say, a young teenager that might be afraid of coming out, that might be
Mhm.
scared, that, could be confused with their own thoughts and sexual feelings,
Mhm.
toward the same sex? What is some advice that you can offer to that younger person to let them know, like, listen, it's scary as shit, but it's going to be okay. And you're going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. I mean, as you just said, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. That's nothing wrong with you. Like nobody, I'm not gonna die because I'm homosexual, or because I'm heterosexual, or anything like that. It's You will be all right. Definitely, I understand that you might be going through, situations where you're just frustrated because you don't understand who you are. And that's normal. It's okay. So it's just a matter of having the right person to talk to. Like in my scenario, it was, my best friend and my mom. So in your scenario, might be whoever you feel like the most attached to. Go ahead and express those feelings. Go ahead and
Talk about it.
talk about it, right? Because those people that actually love us and respect us, they will want the right for us, and they will support you, and they will give you the right advice of how to come up about it, right? So that's pretty much it. Just everything will be okay. It's normal to feel those type of feelings of insecurity or uncertainty. But the only way to go about it is just to trust those that are around you, and just communicate. Communication is the key. So communicate it with your mom, with your friend, with your brother, with whoever it is that you feel that connection with. Having that conversation is key, definitely.
Definitely helps out. Well, Manuela, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about, somewhat, I think it's a sensitive subject still. It's still kind of like very taboo. It's still uncomfortable for the most part for a lot of people, even though it's a little more acceptant these
Mhm.
days and in the city that we live in. But still, it's an uncomfortable topic. Anything that has to do with sexuality is always an uncomfortable topic, whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, whatever it is.
Yes,
It's never completely a comfortable topic to talk about. But I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Um, I'm going to be posting this episode today because it was I'm gonna cut out that little part where we kind of had a little bit of glitches going on in the matrix, and and hopefully we'll be able to communicate this information with somebody that needs to hear it. Especially this was important to do it this month, June, Pride Month, right? It's about love and acceptance, and I do believe that if you are within your authentic self and you are not hurting anybody, go with it, sister girl. Just be
absolutely.
happy. Just be happy and bring that love into the world. That's what we all need. We need more love right now, not all the hate that's happening.
Exactly. Love, a lot of love and respect, and yeah, just keep going. Everything will be all right. But thank you so much, Monica, for having the time to have me in your podcast. It's definitely something I've been looking for, and hopefully I'm back and can help some people that are out there trying to go through the same situation that I did. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay. And I hope you have a great rest of your day off.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.